Hello YouTube, welcome to the masterclasses for the YouTube Symphony Orchestra. My name is Nigel Thomas, I'm timpanist in the London Symphony Orchestra, and I'm here to try and give you a little insight into what it is and what's involved in playing timpani in a symphony orchestra, specifically in relation to the Internet Symphony Eroica written by Tandun. Playing timpani in a symphony orchestra is a great privilege, and it's also great fun and a pretty big responsibility, one I'm sure many of you will have experienced already. If there's one piece of advice I'd give to anybody who plays timpani and who wants to learn the subtleties of what's involved in playing, I would say the biggest thing to always bear in mind is to keep your ears open. Big ears is very important. The timpanist in an orchestra, I often think of as being like the glue holding the orchestra together. We have to be subtle, we have to be chameleon-like, joining all the elements of the orchestra together, and also to be effectively the drummer in the band. We are the rhythm section, the timpanists, with the bass and drums together, and everyone relies on us and listens to us often to hold the whole show together. And this applies very much in the Symphony Eroica. If I can just demonstrate a few bits. Very early on in bar 8, is a very, very loud section there. There aren't many times in your career as a timpanist where you'll be required to play pretty much as loud as you can. You know, there's great power at our disposal here, and it should be used sparingly. And but I think in this one instance in bar 8, you really should give it probably everything you can, especially as the composer asked me to do that the other day when we recorded it. So I demonstrate playing very loudly. I think I probably should, don't you? You really can give it everything. Maybe even more than that if you like. Whatever the conductor asks you for, you've got to give it. And but there are also very subtle sections in the piece as well. There are sections involving pedaling the drums, which is something that I'm sure you will have come across in certain pieces of repertoire. In this, just as a piece of advice, the implication by the composer is that you should pedal the 2 middle drums to get around the notes that he's asked you to play. My advice to you is just pedal between C sharp, C natural and B on one drum, on the 3rd drum up. Let me demonstrate the Allegro vivace at the end in bar 98. I play like this. So effectively you're changing all of the notes just on the one drum, and that applies through the whole piece. So that's my advice to you when preparing this. Other bits of advice when preparing to audition for this: make sure you know your drums intimately, make sure you've worked out everything you're going to do in advance, i.e. Which notes you're going to put on which drums. Choose your sticks very carefully as well. The composer asked me for sticks on the hard side of medium. These are pretty hard, and you need that to cut through the orchestra in this particular piece. And again, always bear in mind, ears wide open is absolutely vital. The section, the Dolce and Molto section at bar 9 with the trumpet solo, there's no point in me demonstrating it without the trumpet player being here, but you've got to listen very carefully to the trumpets and fit in with what they're doing when they're pulling the tempo around. Make sure that you follow them. And the rest of it is just pretty technical. Make sure you know what hand you're starting certain section with. For instance, in bar 90, if you're playing the English stroke American method of timpani, start with your right hand. Just make sure you've got everything planned out so you know exactly what you're going to do when it comes to the big moment, because you're going to be nervous, and the more you have under your belt and at your disposal, and the more you've thought through carefully, stay calm and just play and make music. The other piece I'd like you to prepare, if you would, is Beethoven's 8th Symphony. And there are 3 sections I'd like you to prepare for this. The very opening of the symphony, where you're playing tutti with the rest of the orchestra. Check your tuning. A conductor might ask you for dampers on the drums. I'll just put them on now. I wouldn't necessarily do this in a concert, but just for demonstration now I'll use them. And if you don't know this piece, get a CD, listen to it, and you're making music with the orchestra. That's the first section up to letter A. Second bit I'd like you to play for me, please, is letter B. Tutti again. And the section 7 bars later. And finally, at the very end of the symphony, the last movement, I'd like you to play, if you would, from bar 469, which is octave Fs. I'll put dampers on again just so you can hear clearly what I'm doing. Bar 469. The reason I've chosen Beethoven 8 as the other audition piece is that it's many people have said if you can play Beethoven on a timpani you can play anything, and I think there's a lot of truth in that. It requires of you every skill you're going to need as a timpanist: musical, technical, interpretation, subtlety, touch, tone, colour, everything. And the opening of the symphony is just to make sure you know the phrasing, understand the way the orchestra will phrase that section, and just a general test of your musicianship. And at the end of the symphony, it's just basically a technical exercise to check you can double stick cleanly, and which is a prerequisite of being able to play the timpani well. Precision, tuning, everything. It's just a good test, Beethoven. So, good luck, and hopefully you found this little talk useful, and it'll encourage you all to participate in what is a wonderful project. So good luck.